breaking news that is just flashing on your screens. The Parliament has gone ahead and passed the Fugitive Economic Offenders Bill. Now, do remember this had been presented by Piyush Goyal in the Rajya Sabha, and there was quite a bit of debate after both houses got adjourned over the ruckus on the lynching as well as the special category status. These were some of the crucial bills that were likely to be taken up, the Economic Offenders Bill being one of them. So clearly, do remember, you had a dramatic turn of events with the finance minister saying that the Swiss bank data, which showed a 50% increase in the deposits, that was completely misinterpreted. Now, in terms of the Fugitive Economic Offenders Bill, it definitely does assume quite a bit of importance, particularly when it comes to cases like embattled liquor baron Vijay Mallya. He has recently just expressed his willingness to return to India, although he's currently contesting his extradition in a UK court. Now, under the Fugitive Economic Offenders Ordinance 2018, the Enforcement Directorate has sought the order from the Prevention of the Money Laundering Act, or the PMLA court, in order to seize his properties worth about 12,500 crore rupees. So this will allow the PMLA to confiscate properties of a person who has been declared as a fugitive economic offender, which may in fact be the proceeds of a crime, Benami properties, or any other properties in India or abroad. Upon the confiscation of these properties, it becomes a property of the central government, and they then have the option to depose this after a period of 90 days. And this bill also assumes importance because it is then going to allow authorities to provisionally go ahead and attach properties of those who are accused, such as the likes of Vijay Mallya, even as the application is pending before the special court. So, clearly, if a person has been declared as a fugitive economic offender, this happens only once an arrest warrant has been issued against him for specific offences that cross 1,000 crore rupees, and when he has left the country, when he refuses to face prosecution. We in India are facing many such cases, the likes of Nirav Modi, Vijay Mallya, etc. And the rules coming about now will assume a lot of importance in some of these very high-profile cases. In fact, my colleague Ruchi Bhatia now joins in with more perspective. And Ruchi, I was just highlighting how we are talking about a lot of high-profile cases that are currently underway, and the fact that the Rajya Sabha has cleared the Fugitive Economic Offenders Bill, it's going to have huge implications.
Absolutely, Avan, as you've rightly pointed out, and the government was aiming to ensure that this bill gets passed in this session. What is it essentially going to do? Look at the kind of cases that we have in the banking system, the likes of, Vijay Mallya, that owes almost 9,000 crore rupees to various consortium of banks, the likes of Jatin Mehta, Nirav Modi, Mehul Choksi. The list is really long, and that was exactly the reason why the government had to come up with these laws in the first place. Or in all these cases, one thing is very clear: how these people have taken money from the banking system. They owe so much money to the banking system. They've flown out of the country. They're not responding to the ED summons. They're not responding to the CBI summons, and plus they're not willing to pay to the banks as well. And which is why the government came up with this Fugitive Economic Offenders Ordinance in the first place, which has now been ratified by the House of Elders, by the upper house of the Parliament. This is going to have huge implications, as you've rightly pointed out. What is it going to empower the agencies to do? Basically, it is going to ensure that the agencies can now confiscate their properties not only in India but also abroad, which means that they can then use this property to... All right, Avan, let me also go across to Mr. Ranina, who's joining us on the phone line. Mr. Ranina, we have seen how the upper house, the House of Elders, has cleared the Fugitive Economic Offenders Bill. Also, the Lok Sabha on July 19th had cleared it. So finally, the ratification now coming in from the Parliament. What do you think? How soon do you think now the confiscation of properties can happen, and finally all that money can be brought back to the country, all the money that these fugitive economic offenders had taken from the banking system?
See, the problem is that, the bill will, of course, now be approved by the President. As soon as the President signs the bill, it will become the law. But the fact is that first they'll have to establish that person has defaulted. So there is a certain procedure laid down under the Fugitive Offenders Bill. That procedure will have to be followed. Once that procedure is followed, then with the approval of the court, the assets can be seized. Now, the real purpose of this is to seize assets, confiscate assets which are lying in India, because that is possible under our law. But now I'm a little concerned about foreign assets, because foreign assets are still under the jurisdiction of foreign courts and foreign laws. So just because the Indian government, Indian parliament has passed this legislation doesn't mean that it applies automatically to foreign assets. So to recover foreign assets and to liquidate them, bring them as proceeds to India in order to pay off the debtors in India, I think it's going to be a very long-drawn process, because you'll have to go through the procedure laid down under those laws of those countries.
In fact, Mr. Ranina, that's a very important point that you've highlighted, how, Indian assets can be confiscated because there is a law in place, but foreign assets continue to be a big concern. But given the kind of, diplomacy India has with various other countries, especially in case of, US, UK, the Indian government has been reaching out to these governments as well. And in fact, very recently, how we saw in UK, the UK court also gave a favorable verdict with respect to the Indian banks. How do you really see it? I mean, is it that big a concern, or is it just a matter of time that, if the Indian government or the Indian banks, then they reach out to all these foreign countries and they look to seize the assets? It's perhaps just a matter of time, because in India there is a law, in other countries also, we will see how they will also look to favor, the Indian government and the Indian banks in that case?
No, you see, these are matters which will be decided by foreign courts. So I don't think diplomacy comes into the picture. It's not between Indian government and the foreign government, because the offenders who have run away, who are fugitives, will seek recourse in a court of law in that country. So it all depends on how the courts react, and that will depend upon all the evidence which the Indian government or the Indian banks or the Indian creditors will have to produce before the foreign courts. So therefore, there will be some degree, of course, it won't take as long as in India, but certainly 2 to 3 years may elapse by the time the foreign court passes an order, and then those assets are disposed of and the sale proceeds are brought to India. But really, everything depends on the evidence which the Indian authorities can collect to prove that the assets were acquired in foreign countries out of funds which were defrauded in India. That is a crucial aspect which the Indian authorities and the Indian creditors will have to prove.
All right, Mr. Ranina, many thanks for putting in perspective the big breaking story that we are seeing on our channels right now, how the Rajya Sabha has cleared, in fact, the Parliament has cleared the Fugitive Economic Offenders Bill, but the onus really lies now on the authorities to ensure that they reach out and they are able to get the foreign assets as well, because a foreign law for other countries will really kick in. So they have to really get success out there.